Okay, let's get started with video 2 on the heavy truck alignment. Before you begin any of the alignment things, you need to do all your checks called a pre-alignment check on the truck. So look at all the tires for wear, diagnose what could have caused that pattern like we went over in previous chapters. Be sure all the tires have the same air pressure. A big mistake you can make doing an alignment is not checking air pressure first. You complete the alignment, realize you forgot to do that, and one of the tires was low. A low tire has a different height, so it can cause a vehicle lean, which can change all the angles that you're checking and adjusting. So be sure that you hit all the air pressure, get that to manufacturer specs. Remember to go off the placard on the truck when possible, because there's one on the tire, but it's better to use the one on the truck because that's a specific application type thing. Be sure you check all your steering linkage, make sure it's all tight, check all the kingpins, all the axle attaching hardware, leaf springs, brackets, airbags, everything that it has, radius rods, the stuff that you've been doing in previous task sheets, checking your equalizer bushings, leaf spring problems. You don't want to get partway through doing adjustments after you've checked everything for the alignment and then find a bad part, because once you fix that, then you have to start completely over with the alignment. So you want to make sure that everything is in good shape. Now, automotive, that's how they make a lot of their money in some of those shops, because to do an alignment, they'll come up with every little thing that can move a little bit and convince you that has to be changed before you can do an alignment. So, if something doesn't stay in place, you're going to have problems when you're driving down the road, so it's going to affect your alignment. So you have to make sure that all of the parts are good, all the tire pressures, the tires are matched. You can't have like different tread patterns like we went over before, mismatched tires where they have a different height. All those tasks that you did before are going into setting you up to be able to do this alignment. So you would check all those things. A few things about aligning a truck. So where the truck is a little different, thrust angle is one of the most important factors in aligning a truck. We're going to get to the front end part and you can adjust on it all day long, but if on a Class 8 truck, and this is where the big trucks are different than automotive, the majority of your drivability and tire wear problems can happen with the back of the truck back here. So if this axle isn't setting exactly 90-degree angle to the frame so that the truck goes straight down the road, then what's going to happen, since all the weight is on the back of this vehicle, which is where it's different than automotive, all of our weight in the big truck world, obviously on the loaded truck, is back here on the back of the truck instead of on the front. If you think about an automotive application, all the weight's in the front pretty much. I mean, the engine's up there, the transmission, there's more sheet metal in the front. Everything's a little closer to the front, so the front end alignment is more important, or all that stuff on the front of the vehicle is more important than light duty with a big truck that's in the back. Because here's what's going to happen. If this very back axle here is driving the truck, it's got all the power to it from the engine and the torque, and it's got the majority of the weight of the truck on it, or the vehicle. So if it's not straight to the frame, then it's going to push the front of the truck whichever way it's off when it drives. So you're going to find when we go through this alignment, we set this rear first to basically the center line of the frame to get the truck pointed straight down the road. At the same time, once this one's right, we need to make sure that if it's got an axle in front of it like most trucks have, that it's aligned with this back axle as well. If these two fight each other, in other words, if this axle was angled a little bit, that one was straight, they're going to fight each other and kind of offset just a little bit, and you're going to get wear patterns on these back tires and wear patterns on the front. If the back of the truck is trying to push the truck sideways because the axles aren't aligned back here, then it's either going to try to push the truck into the other lane because of the angle it's going to put on it, or to the ditch or the other side, the passenger side. So then that makes us, the driver, have to take the wheel and fight it. So if it's pulling toward the right, he's going to be pulling left on the wheel to try to keep the truck going down the road, and it's going to slide the front tires a little bit and give us some weird wear patterns on the front tires. So it's more about the back in a big truck than it is the front. Everything has to be aligned properly, but drivability and tire wear problems, we're almost more worried about the back than we are the front. And this is a common mistake because people buy some equipment that won't really check the back and check that center line, and they spend all their time trying to figure out why it's wearing the front tires out because they keep adjusting the front wheels, but they never check the back, and that was what was causing it, because it's pushing the truck one way or the other, right or left. So that's called thrust angle. There's a positive thrust and a negative thrust. Positive thrust is to the right, negative thrust is to the left. Don't really know why you specifically have to know those terms, because when you're doing alignment, it's going to tell you which way to move it. So once we do all of our measurements, we'll figure out that these trailing arms, torque arms, radius arms, all those terms we said, that it's one thing that's confusing because there's multiple names for it. But the way we changed this axle, remember we had a slipper saddle at each end of the leaf spring, as we covered in a previous video. So really this rod is what's controlling how far forward and backward this axle is. If we get into needing to do an adjustment after we do our alignment check with the machine, these two bolts come loose, and there's a little shim washer that goes in here. It's actually got a little handle a lot of times on it to ease installation, but we don't have to take it all the way out. It's slotted, but we have to loosen these off and either add or take away shims to move this forward or backward, and it'll tell you which side to move. So if it's at an angle, one side either needs to move forward or backward depending on which way it's out to align it. So this is how we do these, is with these shims. So this is the leaf spring, it's done that way. The air ride on the red freight is done the same way, even though it's got bags. It still has this arm, and it still has those shims that you take out and or add to make your adjustment.